interaction. So what happens? Someone finds us, they like our content, it's highly relevant, and then what do they do? It's conversational. They research us more by asking questions, but also we can identify them through, if I look at Twitter, tools like Twello, Twitter search, some of those tools we can go and actually listen to specific conversations and identify the issues ourselves and begin those interactions as well. So the next step is, of course, connection. So I think one of the mistakes we make is that we think that just because someone's consumed our content and asked a question, we can immediately say, okay, let's connect on LinkedIn or join my page. But there is that conversation, that rapport in between that's needed to truly get that permission to connect. And then beyond connection, there's a bit more consumption, a bit more interaction, and finally, true consent and rapport, which happens through credibility, which happens through being completely relevant, which happens through authenticity. And it happens from, really, and this goes back to our first book Steve and I wrote together called Sociable, is that social media is about 90% listening, connecting, and contribution, and then 10% marketing. And so until I see that sort of needle is moved that way over, and I feel that relationship with that individual or that entire nano market that I'm working with, I'm going to hold off on the hardcore marketing, the pitches, the offers. In essence, you want to build a community and build a market before you push the message out. So let's talk about 10 traits of a guerrilla social media marketer. And these are actually really important ones. I've already talked to them about it a little bit here. But let's dive into it. Number one, easy to understand. I think this is really, really important, is that easy to understand this with understanding our market and then communicating in a way they can relate to it. Our brand is easy to understand. It's splintered or very specific for that market. I've seen a few realtors locally actually, instead of trying to be all things to all people on one site, what they were doing, they were smart, and they broke up what they do into several sites. One was for commercial properties, one was for high-end properties, one was for condos, and one was specific to the community they're in. And by doing so, they were easy to understand. So if I was Googling for a specific type of home or realtor, I'm going to find and discover that content. Versus trying to put everything on one site and confusing the heck out of that poor first-time home buyer. Or overwhelming somebody who's looking for a $2 million pad with 55 listings of starter condos and standalone homes. And so really think easy to understand. Then number two is distinct, is that what makes you different? And sometimes, and this is, I think, what makes a guerrilla marketer distinct over and above all other things. It's not the color of their logo, it's not their slogan, it's not their name, it's their willingness to develop deeper levels of intimacy, consent, permission, and truly have meaningful dialogue and create very meaningful content for their customers and their prospects online. And that's the big distinctive difference between a guerrilla social media marketer and most other marketers. Right? I look at sales professionals or sales trainers and look at their websites. Most of them will give you a 35-second MP3 clip, and then the next 25 seconds pitching you on why you need to buy the 15-minute clip. And they give away so little and develop so little credibility or depth that they really miss out on the opportunity to contribute more, to connect more, to listen more, and really win the business and trust. Number three is easy to share. Who here has a blog? Who's got a plugin like Add This on your blog? Okay. How about a Tweet This button? It's a few of us. So making it easy. If I have to go to your website, and if I like your article, cut and paste the URL, put it into a URL shrinker, write a headline, and then tweet it out, you've lost 90% of the people who are going to share your stuff. Right? And so utilizing social marketing plugins, with one click, people can share what you're doing off to Facebook, off to Twitter, off to LinkedIn, off to you name it. And so make it really easy for people to share your content. Another aspect of that is are your videos sociable or anti-social? And I think that, even if you go to the forwardstory.com, Ford's got massive budgets for social media. But if you go to the forwardstory.com, every video on that site comes from one site. What tool do they use? They use YouTube. Why do they use YouTube? Number one, it's easy to share. I can do a right click, I've got the code, I can paste it on my blog and share it in a second. They're not going to make you go through permissions or download or upload or do anything. They make it really easy to share. So a big part of viral marketing, if we look at it, is number one, building consent. People want to share a message, but also making it really, really easy to share. Don't make your customer do work. The next one is easy to find. So we talked about this already. So easy to find in essence of, can people Google you and find you easily, both through Google Places and just through the keywords you want to be found on? Are you making it easy to find, for instance, if you've got an online and offline presence, do all your offline tools, marketing tools, have all your major social media destinations listed on them? Okay. Are you making it easy for people to find you in that capacity as well? Number 5, always on. And this is a tough one. But it really is that if you're managing a brand, I'm not saying staying up 24 hours a day. What I am saying is that it's probably, to really win as a guerrilla social media marketer, social media is not going to be a half an hour a day. It's going to be something where you're at least constantly on and monitoring what's being said about your brand, questions that are coming in, and responding quickly to that stuff comes in. Number 6 is human. I think this is really important, is authenticity is absolutely vital in today's social media space. In fact, authenticity is an option for it. And with that said, you don't have to be perfect, you have to be human. People don't want corporate cut and paste responses. They subscribe to a newsletter. Yeah, a thank you automated reply is great, but what about sitting down and taking 2 minutes and writing a personal thank you? I mean, how many subscribers do we get? 1, 2, right? Realistically, most of us on our newsletter, we don't get 100. So to just personalize and be human and connect in that way and acknowledge people to let them know they're not a number is a really, really important characteristic. And then number 7 is consistent branding across all platforms and media. And a good study around this is engagementdb.com. And engagementdb.com, what they did is they studied the top 500 largest brands. They said, who's the most profitable the quickest? And what they found was the companies that were the most profitable the quickest. So they got involved in social media, they dove in, and they activated. The ones that were able to engage the quickest and make the most profits were the ones that used multiple mediums, so not 1 or 2 weapons. So one of the other guerrilla social media marketing secrets is augment, meaning using multiple tools. So not just Twitter and Facebook if we're comfortable, but what do our customers use, and where can we create some redundancy? So maybe I'm using Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, but this is the key factors, the key deciding factors, they're coordinated. So I'm going to have a theme for the month, whatever that marketing theme is, and my blogging, and my Twitter, and my LinkedIn activities are all going to work together. So I look at a tweet or a blog post as a musical note. And on their own, they don't make much difference. But together, if they're bound together properly or in sequence, they're simple. And so this is what these most engaging brands have realized in using social media is it's not just enough to be listening or present, but consistent and coordinated. Now it takes a little bit of extra work and planning, but once that plan's together, it rolls a lot smoother. Anybody here sat there and wondered, especially when you first start with Twitter, what do I say? What do I say? Or what am I blogging about? Like you just stare at the screen, it starts back at you, you stare at the screen, it starts back at you, you go make some tea, you go tweet, you go back to the screen, what am I going to blog about, right? Part of this is we don't have a theme and a strategy. So the most engaging brands and the best guerrilla brands understand the need of being coordinated and have a goal attached to our social media activities. And then build our storyline around that. 3 more secrets and I'm going to wrap up here. I know I've got probably almost up in half an hour for sure here. So 3 last secrets of guerrilla social media marketing. There are 19. But number 1 is commitment. Commitment is a massively important secret. And it is something that, you know, Jay said this, and I'll tell you a quick story like Branson more than years ago, but commitment is absolutely vital. The most money that's going to be lost on social media for the next 3 years, let's say, my opinion, major corporations and individuals like us, aren't going to be from bad marketing plans. Might not even be from bad execution. It's going to be from quitting too soon. And that's the key, is most marketing dollars that are lost are from quitting too soon. It's from, you know, we had one ad agency this year, and next year we're going to get a new one, and when they want to try something new and win some awards from their friends in the industry, making pretty ads and clever, pretty and clever, you know what, doesn't necessarily drive profits. And really good marketing takes time to drive the practice. Jay shared a story with me, and this is not a politically correct story whatsoever. It's about marketing carcinogens. It's about the Marlboro myth. So one of the first stories that Jay told me sitting down with him is that he was part of the team that invented the Marlboro myth. I bet to be responsible for that. Wow. Right? Great marketing effort, kind of evil. And so, but what they did is Marlboro was their number 31 brand in North America, and it was traditionally a woman's cigarette. Now what they knew is that more women smoked, but the men that smoked at that time anyway smoked a lot more. So they wanted to rebrand this cigarette to be a masculine cigarette. So what they did is Jay and his team got together and they said, cowboys, they're masculine. We're gonna, really rebrand this. We need to take a bunch of photographers out there. We're gonna take a picture of these guys at the ranch doing cowboy stuff. And then we're gonna put on billboards and magazines and TV. And we're not gonna really talk much about smoking, but we're just gonna imply this is what this brand means. And they said it's a big stretch rebranding this effort. This is a client of Marlboro. They said, so you have to be committed. This may take a bit longer than you want. It may cost you more dollars. The senior execs at Marlboro said, absolutely, we're committed. So a year later they come back, and if you did all the research, what you would find is that people really felt that Marlboro was a man's cigarette. And that was its image. It was a very masculine brand. They did an incredible job all throughout North America, completely rebranding the cigarette. But they went in to see the clients, they did mixed emotions. Kind of head a bit low, and they came in to kind of ask a couple questions. They thought either we're getting fired, or we're changing this marketing strategy. So what they went in to share with the clients is, look, sentiment says that this is now a masculine brand. Now last year we were at position 31, and this year, 12 months later, guess what position they were at? 31. Same place, nothing moved. So are we fired? And the client, Marlboro, looked at him and said, I thought you said this took commitment. He says, I am committed to this, and we'll keep going. 6 months later, it was the #1 brand and stayed there for decades.
Wow.
And this is an example of how many marketing efforts, how many blog strategies, how many times people have hit Twitter or started a YouTube channel or began to rebrand themselves in a business, and they quit too soon. And so one of the big secrets in this is that it is not necessarily a quick fix or a way to exchange the way you're presently doing business to generate business. It will be a process and it takes commitment, but those that stick to it can really win. The next one, which is my hardest one, is consistent. The next one, which is my hardest one, is consistent. I'm good at most of all these other things because consistency is difficult, but I get excited some days and not so much others. But being consistently present is absolutely vital to build momentum. Best example of consistency online, I think, is blog. Of course, someone we've all heard of from everybody who talks about social media, which is Gary Vaynerchuk, right? So Gary Vaynerchuk from Wide Library TV, he didn't really even hit the radar for most people until video 148. 5 days a week. 148 videos. He's that video, last time I checked, was video 952 a week ago. Still going strong. Every single day. Some of those videos would bore you to tears. I think a lot of them, he wouldn't want to watch them back, go back and watch them. And even watching it, it's interesting to watch it. You go every 10th video or so, you can see the progression. And he didn't design, eventually it went viral. 148 was viral, and if you asked him, he'll say, I don't believe the viral video. He says, there was no strategy, I just kept going and it hit a nerve. He says, then I kept going. He says, and that's true. You've seen United Breaks Guitars, that video. Okay, so that's got 9 million views now. They didn't really capitalize off that. They weren't ready. They didn't have the follow-up. They didn't have the next video, the strategy behind it that Gary had. And so he had a full-on strategy and a commitment to consistency in representing his brand and being present, and that's why he won.